Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pro Finance webinar. I'm Alison Humphries. I'm MD of Pro-Recruitment. I'm joined today by Stuart O'Brien-Weeks and by Kate Green. We are a recruitment company that specialises in the recruitment of tax and audit professionals into professional services. Before we go any further, I would like to hand over to Stuart. Stuart, can you give us a little bit of an explanation as to what you do and why you're here today? That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So first up, I've been invited wonderfully by Alison to come and have some conversations with you and hopefully kind of point you in the right direction and be able to offer some help. I am a tutor. I have been delivering content and material in training rooms for nearly 2 decades now. I'm a chartered accountant. One of the largest roles that I have on a day-to-day basis is delivering training courses for the ACA qualification. I've been doing that for the nearly 20 years. I deliver the courses from down at the bottom level, which is, you may recall, your debit credit course when you first got taught the difference between a debit credit, all the way through the 3 years of your qualification, all the way up to what is at the moment the advanced level case study, and pretty much everything in between as well. So I've been asked by Alison to come along here and just share with you some words of wisdom that I can offer to you. I can't believe how many people I suspect I've got through the ACA qualification from start to finish. If I'm thinking over 10, 15 years worth of delivering those high level papers, we're easily talking about the thousands. So fingers crossed, I've got some good advice to be able to give you along the way and maybe even answer some of your questions as well.
Fantastic. And Kate, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Certainly. So I'm Kate. I've been part of the Pro Finance team for over 10 years now, and I sort of help people within audit, accounts and outsourcing from junior right up to partner level sort of find the right home in accountancy practices in London and Greater London. But I guess today's more about you guys here and sort of supporting you through these exciting exams that you've got coming up this summer. So hopefully we can sort of help you feel a bit more confident by the end of today's session.
Excellent, thank you. And the sort of agendas for today, guys, is I've got some questions to ask Stuart that hopefully resonate with you. We've got some polls that Kate will be asking questions just to get some engagement from your side. And then, the most important thing today as well is to get out of it what you want. So if you've got questions that are burning and that are there at the forefront of your mind, please ask them. If you pop them in the Q&A section of the Teams at the top, Kate will be able to filter those and ask Stuart sort of appropriately throughout the webinar or at the end if that's what we do. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we get into the details, Stuart, for someone at advanced level ACA exams, what should this stage feel like compared to the professional stage?
If we can say factual, first of all, it's obviously going to be a step up. You're going from that professional level paper, which has topic areas being tested in relatively isolated ways. If you think about the financial management course, you're being tested on derivatives. You'll have a question on derivatives. You can answer something on derivatives, and it is quite isolated and almost semi-predictable as well. Whereas when we take a step up to this advanced level, it's really the level where you get to show off the fact that you're going to be a chartered accountant. You're not just going to be an individual expert in any one topic area. It's going to be less predictable. There'll be merged areas from different parts of your historical syllabus coming forward. And for me, it is the level where you get to realize just how powerful and marketable you are as a person with regards to your time and your skill sets. And having those few letters after your name, you're really going to feel like you deserve to be listened to by the time you finish these exams.
I love that. I love being able to show off. It's fantastic.
It
I
is
really
very
like
much
that
a showy.
Yeah.
It is very much so, yeah.
That's really nice. Great. What's the biggest mind shift for students to make at this level?
Biggest mind shift. I reckon, got to be careful how I say this because different people have different backgrounds, is what I'd say. But my experience tells me that a lot of people, when they're hitting their advanced level of the qualification, that they're taking a step up at work They're one of the more experienced junior members of staff at their place of work, and they're being given more responsibility to work with managers, to have the exposure to partners, maybe having exposure to the board of directors if they're working in a commercial role instead. But that differs slightly inside the exam, because when we're at this final level of our exam, the ICW are expecting to see you as the top dog. You are the person that is offering the advice. You are the person that is assisting the client. And sometimes there's a little bit of a mismatch between the exam world and the professional role, whereby maybe at your place of work, you still have a safety net. You deliver some information to a more senior person at work who then cleans it up, finishes it off, and then offers the deliverable to the board, offers the deliverable to the client. But inside the exam world, the ICAW are recognizing now that once you pass this level, you're pretty much a few steps away from being allowed to call yourself that chartered accountant, starting your own practice, starting your own place of work. You could easily become the finance director of an organization pretty quickly. And so the book does stop with you in the world. So we have to get that mind shift to set up to say we are worth listening to. We do have opinions, and we have to start showing that skill set off now inside an exam rather than just offering facts.
That is powerful.
Hence why all of a sudden you feel so valuable, because you're giving that kind of opinion over there.
My God, on that note, Kate, poll number one.
Poll number one. So I guess to everyone who's sort of attending this webinar, how are you feeling about the advanced level exams right now? How are you feeling right now about these exams that are coming up? Right then. Just wait for some people to submit some votes. But I guess some people are going to have different opinions. Some people might be feeling more confident than others. Some might be feeling a bit overwhelmed. Let's see. Pretty even. Not sure what to expect, and overwhelmed. A couple of people feeling confident, but mainly overwhelmed, I would say, as the votes are coming in, which is really natural. Like it is an overwhelming time of your career.
I think also, especially after what Stuart's just said, yeah, the buck stops with you. That of course people are going to feel overwhelmed. I think that's and that's why you're here today. I think if everybody was really confident, there was no reason for the webinar, right? Okay, on that note,
Can I just chip in sorry, Alison, I hope you don't mind me chipping in. If anybody who does feel overwhelmed, that's normal. Absolutely. If you're in that boat and you're feeling unsure and you've got a bit of anxiety, that is a normal feeling that most people have. So you're not alone with that feeling. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, it's fine. No. Absolutely chip in. Real difference between professional and advanced level we've just touched upon. So beyond it's just harder. Anything else to add at all, Stuart?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the reasons why people might be saying that they're feeling overwhelmed is that these exams do offer a little bit more freedom in terms of topic areas that are being tested. I mean, if we take the three of them separately, one at a time, you've got corporate reporting, which is testing your ability to both follow accounting standards, but also to talk about audit at the same time and within the same exam. And that freedom gives the examiner a little bit more opportunity to spread the exam and to spread your knowledge areas as well. You've got strategic business management, which is really trying to make students see how finance and strategy are linked together. And then for anybody who's doing the case study paper at the moment, that's really trying to illustrate to students that the financial analysis that might feel so important to us as a chartered accountant is only one side of the story, and actually a lot of non-financial topic areas need to be tested as well. So they're really going to be trying to get you to see the accountancy profession and the accountancy qualification as a real mix of skill sets rather than just one skill set by itself in isolation. And I realize that can feel quite overwhelming at times. The beauty associated with that, though, is because there is so much being tested at any one time. There are so many different possible answers that students can give inside the exam, which award credit. And so we start to take a drift away from just talking about facts and instead start trying to offer opinions to our clients inside the exam instead. And that freedom should be something that I think candidates should really grab hold of and enjoy, the fact that it's all about giving your opinion instead of a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there about facts to opinions. What does good look like when it comes to opinions?
You know what? It's a really that's a good one. There's loads of documents on the ICAW website, which I'm not sure people always dig around and find out. But for each exam that's out there, there's a document which kind of walks you through, first of all, the ACA qualification, but then it talks to you about the skill sets that the ICAW want from their Chartered Accountant's qualification. And one of the big skill sets that the ICAW really want to see students offer is what they refer to as applying their own judgment. So giving their own opinion, giving their feel associated with things. And I'll tell you, the markers that are out there, they really go giddy at the knees when students are showing that application of judgment. So being skeptical inside an exam world, it's sometimes a bit of a weird feeling for students to do, because often students are trying to find the answer, the factual answer, and they assume that the examiner is leading them down a specific path to get to the answer. But actually, inside an exam, being skeptical about the information you've been given, pointing out the fact that maybe you've not got all of the information available inside an exam environment, it's kind of what you would do in the real world when you're dealing with clients and they're presenting you information. You would think to yourself, have I got everything? Do they have their own agenda? Are they being biased towards one thing? And actually, would other people have a different viewpoint? So recognizing there is this skepticism that can be applied inside the exam is a really strong skill set to show that you have this judgment. And then also not being constrained by what you're given inside the exam is a good way to show the skill set as well. Realizing that you've been asked to do something, but this has a knock-on effect. You know, the made-up people inside the exam scenario are going to be impacted by this. The fictitious stakeholders of an organization are going to be impacted by this. And broadening your view to outside of the exam paper is a really good way that students can say, I've got this well-rounded view, I've got this judgment, I've got this opinion, I've answered your question, but I can also see where this is leading to as well. And yeah, the ICAW go giddy at the knees when they see students applying their own judgments to scenarios.
Fantastic. Kate, question from the audience.
Yeah,
actually.
someone's just popped up and asked, where do you find those documents that you just referenced?
It's a great shout. So whilst I'm speaking to you, I am hitting Google. I'm going to hit ICAW. I'm going to do ICAW Strategic Business Management is what I'm going to do. Strategic Business Management. Can't really spell very well. So I'm just swinging in. First Google hits to the ICAW Strategic Business Management page. You have to sign in, which of course I'm not. So let me quickly sign myself in.
Look at this live information gathering for Shannon. Love it.
Trying to get my password right. I'm in. Sorry, I know you can't see the screen. I know that's really boring, but I have just logged in. I'm sure students will be aware that if you go to the ICAW website, there is a section which is all about the student section. It's about the exam section. You can follow through to find the exam resources section, and that's where you'll have all the different courses. But I've just Googled ICAW Strategic Business Management, and it's taken me straight to the Strategic Business Management page. I scroll down. And again, I'm sure students will be experienced with the idea that there's past exams and there's examiner's commentary on this page. But one of the links, and I'm just trying to spot it now as I talk, it is towards the top of the page in a blue section, just after where it tells you about the practice software. There is a section which says syllabus and a link that says currently Strategic Business Management Syllabus 2025. So I'll just say that again, Strategic Business Management Syllabus 2025. It's going to be a bit out of date because the ICAW haven't updated it for 2026, because the syllabus is changing into 2027. So the 2026 exams are based on the 2025 exams. But I've just clicked on that link and it's opened up a 30-ish page document. And every single course has one of these 30-page documents. The first half is really repetitive, so I wouldn't worry too much about the first half. But from page 15 onwards, that's where you get told about that exam, about that module, and about the skill sets that the ICAW want to see students showing off. So it gets a little bit of time for you to get there, but somewhere around about page 25 in the SBM one at least is where it tells you about this is what we want from you, this is how to expect those skills to be tested, and this is what we want to see from students inside the exam. Hope that answers that question.
Absolutely. So you answering a question in the exam, but then also talking about what could go wrong, what are the problems, what are the issues, which leads very nicely on to my next question, actually. So for someone who's used to being technically correct, how do they start becoming more commercially convincing in their answers?
Yeah, great question again. I think it's probably worth recognizing that almost everybody who's doing these exam papers is clever. They're intelligent, they're smart, they have to be. You have to be where you are at life at the moment means you've got a great background qualification. You've gone through God knows how many exams already that shows off your technical skill sets. That now this is kind of the ICAW wanting to double check that you are going to uphold their name, uphold those letters, and bring a bit of pride to this qualification. And as I said earlier on, we've got to take that step up to be able to give those certainties to say, this is what we should do. This is what the answer is. This is my advice. You've got to kind of start making sure that you're using that assertive language, that you're not putting the ifs and the buts around your answer, but you're telling your client what they should do. And then to add to this, if you don't mind, and this is sometimes potentially a little bit of a controversial statement, but don't try and be too clever. You are intelligent to be where you are in life, but sometimes the examiner just wants you to help a client out. Your clients in the exam are coming to you for assistance because they're not as clever as you. And sometimes I think to show that commercial intelligence, that commercial answer, it's about realizing that your client needs your help. So you've got to tone down your cleverness to really help a client out.
And interestingly, so vocabulary, language, and style that signals that you're about to qualify as a chartered accountant. Would that mean that sometimes they're using layman's style language to explain to a client? But yeah, is that am I thinking that right? Have I picked
100%, absolutely 100%. I recollect beautifully. This is going back maybe a decade, but there's a student who really resonates in my mind for a long, long time because he's one of the most intelligent people. Sorry if you can hear my weather on my side of the camera here.
Mine's also terrible. Don't worry,
it is terrible where I am at the moment. He was one of the most intelligent people inside my classroom. He was always the one who was asking the niche questions, always the one that was coming up with the niche answer, always wanting to think about things from a different point of view. And I remember thinking to myself, I've never been asked the questions that this student is asking. He's really switched on. He knows his stuff. And of my class, he was my only student who failed. And I remember meeting up with him afterwards, and I could not believe he failed because of the intelligence that he had. And he absolutely kind of came back and admitted to me after the conversation that he's probably overcomplicated everything inside that exam. Rather than keeping things simple for the clients, thinking about communicating the obvious points. And I'm very sorry to do bunny ears on obvious points, but I know obvious isn't always obvious, but basic points, fundamental points, treating your client like they're an idiot because they're really asking you for assistance and help. And that's the bit which accumulates credit inside these exams, not that niche topic area. You're not going to get 1 billion marks for highlighting a really niche thing. You're going to get 1 mark. So why not get your 1 marks for all those basic fundamental points instead? Yeah.
from speaking as a client, whenever I speak to my accountant, I need
Yeah,
them to talk to me like I don't know what I'm doing, and
yeah,
I want them to explain, and they're very good at sort of apologizing and saying, you may understand this, but let
yeah.
me just spell it out to you. I'm like, don't apologize, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we surround as chartered accountants, we surround ourselves with other chartered accountants.
Yeah,
So when we say things like, "Oh, there's foreign exchange rate risk here," that means something to us. But for somebody who's not in that world and seeking advice, they don't know what that actually means and what that
yeah.
entails, and you've got to really slow yourself down for your clients.
Fantastic. Like that's a really good piece of advice. Um, Whilst we've been talking about this sort of facts to opinions, we're going to move on to our second poll actually. So Kate and Claire, if we can move on to our second poll, that'd be great.
Perfect. Yeah, so as we were saying, you've obviously, Stuart's been touching on moving from facts to opinions. So how does everyone feel about giving your own opinion in answers? Because obviously that's sort of really important to become a true advisor, moving from giving facts and actually advising your clients. Does everyone feel confident doing so?
Okay.
So it's looking more like a no than a yes. So I think building confidence and becoming more, opinion based seems to be quite important to the people in the room.
Absolutely. Anything to add here, Stuart?
Yeah, you know what? The big thing that I will always tell people, certainly when I'm in classrooms with them, is your opinion is useful. And no matter how scared you might be to offer your opinion, I think it is so important if you're part of a conversation, if you're part of a meeting, if you're part of writing a report, to give an opinion, you're allowed it. And to almost accept and embrace the fact that people can disagree with you and probably will disagree with you. And that's fine. We live in a world where there's lots of different ways of doing things. And if everybody knew that there's only one way to do something, it'd be a pretty dull and boring world. So have an opinion, puff your chest out, lift your head up high, let people hear it. The worst that can happen is somebody says, I don't like that opinion. But at least you were involved in that conversation. If you're not giving an opinion, you may as well not be involved in the conversation. You may as well not be part of that meeting. You may as well not bother writing that report. Let people disagree with you. It's okay. And from an exam point of view, the ICW would much rather hear somebody give an opinion about something which they don't agree with compared to reading a student's script where there is no opinion whatsoever.
An example actually of two accountants giving me and my co-directors an opinion. We completed an MBO 5 years ago, and we had two sets of accountants' opinions. Both technically were correct, but both of them did something very differently. And
Yeah.
so, just because you've got an opinion, it doesn't have to be right or wrong. As long as technically the outcome is the same and you're using the right rules and abiding by the law, your opinion is massively looked at by the client as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's just, this sounds awful at this time, but this is not paid advice at the moment. This is an exam, so nothing's, there's nobody's going to get sued if the opinion or the act is wrong
Yeah.
here, right? So it is an exam, so you know no one's going to jail here, are they?
I've just picked up on the chat box as well. Shannon has posted something about always putting a heading in for conclusion because it forces you to give that opinion. That's a really, really good technique. So often inside, I mean, I think you have to do it inside your case study paper. You have to have a section which is about conclusions, but it is a really good habit to get into for both the SBM and the corporate reporting paper as well, because often there is credit for students building their discussion, building their viewpoint, and then bringing it all to an end that says, this is therefore what should be done. So it's a really nice habit there, Shannon, to have in place.
Thank you. We're going to move on now to what can go wrong. Um, so what are the most common mistakes you see that stop otherwise capable students from passing?
So this will be in terms of what goes wrong inside an exam point of view.
Yeah.
I truly think it's getting stuck in the sticky parts of an exam, whether it's corporate reporting, whether it's SBM, whether it's case study. I reckon there will always be parts of the exam which are hard. And I think we need to embrace the fact that there are hard parts in the exam, there are challenging parts inside the exam. The ICW are not going to shy away from that. But the one reason then where students struggle is they think that that hard part of the exam is what they have to focus on in the 3.5 hour, 4 hours, and they spend too long trying to get to that perfect answer, and then missing the fact that there is so much else out there inside that 3.5 hour, 4 hour exam, which is achievable, that they're missing out on it simply because they've got bogged down. And it does happen inside every single exam. And the sooner you can work through those sticky points, the better. I often teach students that if you get to a hard part of the exam, work out how to cheat your way through it. Work out how to fudge your way through it, like you would inside a client meeting. We've probably all had a meeting with somebody in our life where we've been asked a challenging question and we might not have the answer, but it's embarrassing sometimes to tell the person on the other side of the table, I don't know. So we skirt around it, we give some sort of answer, and then we can move and progress through the meeting without us losing face that make us look like an idiot. And we do that inside the exam as well. If you come across those sticky parts, those challenging parts, you get through them, and then it just exposes you to the rest of the question where there is so many more achievable marks. So many examiners, sorry, Alison, so many examiners, they often put really achievable marks towards the end of the exam to effectively reward the students who get to the end of the exam. And the students who get bogged down too early on, the students who lose track of time, are the students who really struggle to pass the exam because they've not accessed those achievable parts of the exam.
So in theory, it's better to attempt everything imperfectly
Oh, yes.
than
There is a phrase out, yeah.
than doing one answer really, really well. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just how you say that. There is a phrase out there. I forget what it is, but it's like don't let perfect be the enemy of good or something like that.
Yeah.
I might have that wrong, so I apologize if I have got that saying wrong. But yeah, it's not about trying to get to that perfect answer. It's about there used to be an exam team inside the ICW that used a phrase, and it was such a beautiful phrase to open people's eyes up. They looked for students who were competent to be able to pass the exam. And it's like, we're all intelligent people at this level of our studies. We're doing the hardest exams that we might ever have to do. And yet the examiner is looking for us to be competent. It doesn't sound amazing to be competent, but it really, really is. And if you try and go through the 3.5 hour exams, the 4 hour exams, trying to excel at absolutely everything, you're going to really struggle. Whereas if you can show off being that competent person with every single part of the exam, the better you will be. And yeah, I often ask students, and it might be worth the people in the classroom doing this, when you're looking at some of the past exam questions, go in and have a look at how many requirements there are for you to do in a 3.5 hour, 4 hour exam. Just count them up, count all the requirements and count the sub-requirements. And you'll probably realize that you're being asked across the time period to be doing somewhere between 15 and 20 different things. Imagine if you did a really rubbish job for those 15 or 20 things. You scored 1 mark for everything. You just got 15 to 20% without doing a good job. Do yourself a competent job and all of a sudden get, what, 2 marks for everything? You're up to 40%. If one of those areas is a strength of yours, bang, you're into that 50% and you've passed. So doing something for everything is the way to go. Don't get stuck down with the bits which are nasty for you. Just progress, do something, and then move on to something different instead.
Love the advice there. And on that, when we're talking about marks, does writing more equal more marks?
No. A good chartered accountant should be able to make their point in 1 sentence.
Interesting, really. And
you know, that was it. I could elaborate. I could say more if I wanted to. I could try and explain why that is important by adding more sentences in. But at the end of the day, if I keep on talking about this idea of writing your points succinctly, don't write too much, effectively I get to the same conclusion, which is a chartered accountant should be able to make a good point in one sentence. So why waste words?
Love that. Love it. What can some students misunderstand about how marks are actually awarded?
Yeah, you know, and it's going to come back to that idea of potentially writing too much. I think a lot of candidates think the more words they use, the more they make that point, the more they over elaborate, the more credit they're going to be getting for that point. But your ICW examiners, you know, they're reading 200 scripts. They're reading the same answer over and over again. I mean, no disrespect to anybody doing these exams, but chances are extremely high that if you thought of a good point as an answer, so has another 100 students as well. So the moment the marker sees that you're referencing the same idea, bang, the credit is there, bang, the credit is there, bang, the credit is there. It doesn't matter whether you use 10 words or 30 words, you're making the same point and you've got that credit. I think as well, the ICW would really appreciate from a strong candidate, the kind of candidate who can make those points really succinctly and then move on to something else, make another point and move on to something else, make another point and move on to something else. The ICW really do value a chartered accountant to be the person who can offer a breadth of ideas rather than just a depth of ideas instead. And you're going to get so much more credit if you can offer breadth rather than depth.
Excellent. On that, we'll go to our next poll.
Right.
Kate, over to you. I think this is all about your exam technique, guys.
Yeah, so I think if everyone was being really honest with themselves now, I know we've mentioned on a few of these things that happen to us, but which one are you more guilty of? Is it running out of time? Are you one of those people who writes too much, waffles the answers, or do you over focus on those difficult areas? Myself, God, I think I've definitely run out of time, not realized there was an extra question at the end and run out of time, which is, God, you just become so overwhelmed and really stressed at the end. But how about everyone else? We've got a few answers coming through. So a fairly even spread, to be fair. There's a few people who are saying that they are over focusing on the difficult answers. Let's have a look. We'll wait for some more answers. Bit of everything, to be fair, running out of time. Mostly running out of time.
Sticking, isn't it? What you were saying, Stuart, about people sticking on those sticky areas and therefore running out of time in other areas of the exam.
Yeah, I mean, it might be quite interesting. I don't know whether anybody feels confident on the chat box who said they were running out of time, why it is that you feel you're running out of time. Is it because it's a sticky point or is it something else instead? If it is a sticky point, yeah, realizing that it's okay to have an average answer for that sticky point is an easy way to progress and keep on moving through the time period instead. I noticed a couple of people are saying that they're over focusing on the difficult areas as well. And every single time I'd speak to students after an exam, I'll hear the same thing every time. It's like, oh, this topic area was too hard. It's like, oh, it had a consolidation of an overseas subsidiary. It was hard. I spent too long on requirement one. It was a hard analysis. I had to do foreign exchange rate derivatives. It was hard. And then you just poke them and ask them the question. So how many marks did you think that was worth? And they'll go, oh, it was probably worth somewhere around about 10 marks. And you then say to them, okay, how was the other 90% of the exam? And the penny drops and they realize that that hard part where they got stuck on it is not the disaster. What is the disaster is not being able to write something for everything inside that exam instead.
So students are almost better off just writing what they know about that and then moving on. They don't have to have the complete answer, just the bits they know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it might mean something to some people on the chat box, but if you're doing corporate reporting and you get yourself the consolidation question, you know from your earlier studies that there's going to be 5 or 6 really straightforward steps to do, bang, 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 and then the hard stuff. Bang, 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 bang. Do that. Give yourself the time allotment for the hard stuff so you can maybe give it a go, but don't stress out if you didn't get there. What you should stress out about is getting on to the next requirements instead. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, love that. Thank you. We're going to move on now to what our students should be doing now. Somewhat, but for anybody sitting the exam, in the next sitting, what should be doing right now that's going to make the biggest difference?
It's probably going to be different, to be fair, for the 3 different papers at this level. So I'll speak to the people in the room from the 3 different angles. I wouldn't be surprised if at this stage of your studies for corporate reporting, you might be still needing to digest a lot of new material. There'll be topic areas from a technical point of view that you haven't seen in your earlier studies, and you're going to need to make sure you feel comfortable with them. But what I'd really advise anybody who's doing corporate reporting, when you're learning these new topic areas, make sure you go and find an exam question which has got that difficult topic area in, and see how it was examined. I see so much anxiety from people learning something challenging. For example, hedge accounting you won't have seen before. You freak out, you don't fully understand it, you don't get this nuance here or that nuance there. And actually, when you look at the exam questions, it's like, whoa, that is so much more relaxed than what I thought it could have been. So I reckon for corporate reporting students, do still keep learning your material that you need, but make sure you tie it into those past exam questions so you can see where those easy marks are. For anybody who's doing SBM, Strategic Business Management, you have the knowledge. With all due respect to all the courses that are out there that people are spending money on and going to and learning new content and material, there are a few new bits, but the new bits are so low priority compared to what you already know from your financial management course, your business strategy course, your FAR course, and your audit and assurance course. All that knowledge is the basis of SBM. You can start looking at SBM questions straight away without any more support. And I would massively advise that you start to see that old knowledge is usable. Take it with some caution. And when you look at past exams for SBM, it can be really quite daunting to see the size of the question, the amount of reading you have to do, and potentially the vagueness of some of the requirements as well. But get stuck into one of the mini requirements, see whether you can use some of your old knowledge, and then go and have a look at the answer in the back of the book and be like, oh, actually, the answer in the back of the book is discussing the exact same things that I would have discussed in my business strategy paper. It just so happens that they've also thrown in some financial management knowledge into the mix as well. So SBM, get into your past papers as quickly as you possibly can, to be fair, without needing to worry about upskilling yourself because you've got that technical knowledge already. In terms of case study, possibly a more difficult one, because for anybody who's doing case study at the moment, you'll know that your advanced information is going to be coming out soon. And that's going to give you some massive guidance as to what you'll do inside your real exam. But I think the best thing a case study student can be doing at the moment is looking through the past few years worth of exams, specifically reading examiners' reports to find out what the examiners get really frustrated about with students, what students are missing out upon, and start to try to look for generic themes, because every single case study is different, but there are real generic themes. So for example, the examiners at the moment are really telling us that students aren't doing a great job at offering recommendations to clients. So if you've spotted that while reading those examiners' reports, you can start looking at model answers and start thinking about what types of recommendations make sense to clients. And then when that real advanced information comes out, you can start trying to think about how those recommendations might work for your clients on the day of the exam. So getting under the bonnet of what your past exams have been looking like is what I would say is important for case study.
That's interesting, Stuart. Are there any other examples of what themes that you've seen examiners get a bit irked with that we could pass on to students?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of corporate reporting, the common theme that the examiners reference is students not focusing on the basics, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier on. Too many students focusing on the nuances of a scenario rather than getting the basics right. So for corporate reporting, again, as the example, you'll have to be using some data analytics software. Students who've done the audit and assurance paper will know it's called Inflow. You know you're going to have to use that inside this exam as well. And the exam team gets so frustrated about the fact that students aren't grounding themselves in just the basic numbers. Click a button, see a number inside the software. That's probably an answer. Start talking about that number. Don't go the next step. Don't go the next step. Don't go the next step. Just click the button and spot something and go, that's what I'm going to talk about. So grounding yourself in the basics without a shadow of a doubt. In terms of SBM, I'm trying to think. I have recently seen the commentary coming out from the examiner in the conference. You know what? I'm trying to think. Is it all about presentation for him? I think it is a lot about presentation and not making your succinct points where you've got a sentence and then you're starting a new line, a sentence and starting the new line. That's really bugging the marking team. So with SBM, if you can get on the good side of the markers probably will want to offer you quite a fair amount of credit. And presentation, as weird as it might say, presentation can take you a long way in life. We've probably all seen really dull presented documents where we've been asked to read something and not wanted to read it, and then given a nice snazzy presentation with some nice graphics and gone, I want to engage with that. The markers are the same. If they see something that they want to engage in, they're much more likely to want to award you credit compared to those who don't.
Making it easy on the eye for them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Easy to
Especially when
read.
they're marking 200 scripts. Yeah.
Yeah, making it easy to read. Love that. Okay. What does good preparation look like in an open book environment?
Yeah, okay, so we not mentioned that. I mean, again, making assumptions that people might know, but they might not. So these exams at this advanced level are open book, and it's worth noting for everybody, you can literally take in anything that you like inside this exam. I think the only thing the ICW say is please acknowledge the physical space that you'll have inside the exam room. So you'll only have a small desk, your computer's going to take up a huge amount of that space. You might have a chair that you can put things underneath so you can stack things inside there, but you can take anything into the exam. And also just make sure you're happy that inside this exam, you'd also have access to your digital bookshelf at the click of a button as well. So your ICAW Biblio bookshelf with all of the workbooks, all of the question banks that you've ever had on there will be accessible to you inside the exam as well. And that's the Biblio bookshelf, not a PDF like you might have had at your professional level. You click a button and your Biblio bookshelf is available. So you have all this information which you can take inside the exam. But please be careful. Don't be that student who just assumes therefore that because you've got all these textbooks that's helpful. Because it's not. You've got to have something which is gonna make sense to you inside the exam, something which you can flip through and go, yes, that's it, that's it, that's it. And I always advise students to prepare something themselves rather than relying upon somebody else's preparation of something. Have an A4 ring bounder, have an index at the front of the A4 ring bounder, and have content and material that you are going to find useful inside that ring binder. That might be something you've handwritten, it might be something you've typed up, it might be something that you photocopied out of a book or screenshotted and printed out. It might be something that you've torn out of a book and you've put hole punches in it and slotted it in. But just have one digestible A4 ring bounder which is easily navigatable with all the information that you think could be useful for you on the day of the exam.
And in my mind, I'm not an accountant at all. I've never sat an accountancy exam at all, but I can only imagine there are so many technically, there's so much that technically you couldn't fit all of that. So what type of thing would you advise would be in that ring? If you were taking it tomorrow, Stuart, what would you put in that?
Well, first of all, Alison, I wouldn't wait until to the day before the exam to prepare my A4 shot the folder.
Don't do that.
And I think everybody should think, we're in May at the moment, you've got plenty of time. Something which you're going to take into the exam, which is going to be useful for you, is going to evolve over time with the practice that you do. And I think starting early massively relieves the pressure for much later on. So definitely not a night before the exam job, first of all. But in terms of the content that would go in it, which I reckon is what you were driving with that question, I'd be looking for step-by-step guides for things. So if during my studies I've realized that I don't know how to value businesses using a free cash flow method, I'd want an A4 sheet of paper that says step 1 do this, step 2 do this, step 3 do this, step 4 do that. It might transpire that on the day of the examiner has structured the question in a little bit of an odd way that maybe your step-by-step guide isn't perfect. But actually, as we said earlier, I don't need my step-by-step guide to be perfect. I need it to be competent. And so if I still follow through with the steps, I'll probably hit on the head the majority of marks that I need. So if I struggle with a business valuation, get my step-by-step guide. If I don't know how to do an interest rate future, I need a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step process. If I don't know how to deal with deferred tax, step 1, step 2, step 3. So it's a cheat sheet, A4 sheet of paper, which gives me those guidance is absolutely where I would start building. And it might be that by the time you get to the exam, that A4 sheet of paper about how an interest rate future works is now irrelevant because you now know it, but that safety blanket is there. So definitely from a technical point of view, get those step-by-step guides in. I think there'll be parts of the exam where the examiner will be expecting you to explain accounting standards. And I think everybody should have 1, 2, 3 points to say about every single accounting standard that is inside your qualification. Now, that might feel quite daunting, but actually, we're probably looking at about 20 accounting standards. And I reckon if you've got a cheat sheet where you say, here are the 3 most important things about that accounting standard, you'll be getting the basics, the fundamentals inside the exam. If you have to just talk about a business closing down, you say, right, bang, we've got an asset available for sale. This is why, this is what to do, done. There might be other things which aren't relevant, but if you've got that cheat sheet available for those accounting standards, you are winning some marks inside the exam. The last thing that I probably think about as well is the cheat sheet of inspiration. So I'm thinking more strategic papers like case study and SBM. If your client regularly asks you about the benefits and risks of doing something, let's say the benefits and risks of opening up a factory in another country, the benefits and risks of creating a new subsidiary overseas, the benefits and risks of exporting your products to a new geographical region, you want a list of 5 or 6 generic ideas that can be like, this is the danger of doing something overseas. This is the benefits of doing something overseas. And then on the day of the exam, if your mind goes blank, which can happen to us inside the exam, you turn to that page. It's not the answer, but it's inspiration. And you can look through and be like, well, 6 of those bullet points are useless, but the other 4 are actually applicable. Bang, I've got myself 4 good points, 4 sentences inside the exam, probably 4% of your exam paper. So cheat sheets for your technical stuff, cheat sheets about the key things to say for every single accounting standard that's out there, and a cheat sheet of inspiration for strategical growth are the things that I'd be pushing inside my papers. For case study, actually, sorry, as well, for case study, I'd have a cheat sheet of recommendations. If that's what the examiner for case study is saying students are doing a terrible job at the moment, I'd want to be able to churn out 10 recommendations for each requirement. And I think I'd struggle to do that inside the exam under exam conditions. But if I had a cheat sheet of these are the typical 10 recommendations normally made, inspiration for the exam, apply it to the scenario, you've got 10 recommendations for the exam.
I mean, that's brilliant. I absolutely love that. Thank you very much for sharing it. My one question to you is, if these are open book exams, why do people struggle?
So yeah, so first of all, probably because of what I pulled you up on, which is people try and prepare things the night before, or they assume that somebody else has prepared something for them, which will therefore be useful. And they have this massive safety blanket and they go inside the exam, they see a question, go, no, I'm not quite sure about that, but I've got an open book. So I'll now try and work out how my open book is going to be useful for me in the heat of the moment in a 3.5 hour, 4 hour exam. And you don't want to be eroding your time inside the exam, turning the pages. Again, maybe for the case study people in the room, you're going to get 40-page documents, which you'll have at your fingertips on the day of the exam to leverage off. Top performing students at case study, they're not turning 40 pages to find information. They have one A4 sheet of paper with all the key details on there and then, because they've prepped something for themselves and they know how their material works. There's no point taking things into the exam if you don't know how it works, because that just erodes your time. The second thing is people assume that the answer is in the open book, and I'll say 9 times out of 10, it's not. The inspiration is there for you inside the open book. The step-by-step guide is there for you inside the open book. The inspiration of strategic growth is there for you inside the exam. You've got to bring that to your exam paper and apply it to the question. And application at times is missing from students. They're regurgitating facts, they're regurgitating a list of generic points which aren't applicable. We've got to make sure that any open book material that we are leveraging off is applied to that scenario. And the best thing students can do, start referencing the client company inside the exam. That's the first step. Start referencing people, that the fictitious people from the exam. Start referencing the industry. It's the easiest thing to do, and it puts you on that path to say that you're answering this exam question. You're not answering any old exam question. Yeah.
Love that. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's move on to our next poll.
So yeah, I think really, really amazing, Stuart, all those advice, all the advice you've just given on cheat sheets. But I guess I want to find out who started building their exam notes. Has anyone started? How's everyone getting along with has anyone done any cheat sheets? Such good advice there, Stuart. I thought that was really interesting. I think those cheat sheets are paramount to success by the sounds of things.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
it's nice for, as a tutor. It's really nice for me to feel that maybe I've made a few people in the room think now is the time to start thinking about what you're going to take into the exam with you, and it's going to massively reduce anxiety as you build up towards that exam date, knowing that you've got material which works for you on the day of the exam.
Yeah, I think sort of 85% of people have not yet started, but I think after this, everyone's going to be making cheat sheets. I think everyone will be definitely getting their learning materials at the ready.
Just what are top performing students doing differently at this stage, Stuart?
Top performing students, from my experience, are the relaxed ones. Is what I will say, and I think actually, let me just revert from that. Yeah, you don't want to be too relaxed. No, it's the students who are growing in confidence. That's probably the right way to go about it. They're the students who are realizing that actually you've got the background, you've got the experience, you've got technical knowledge to where you are in life at the moment, and you're starting to try and hone in to what your CR examiner wants, your SBM examiner, and your case study, and you're kind of taking it all in your strides. Be like, okay, well, if that's what the examiner wants, I'll salute it. I'll take that on board. If that's what the examiner wants, salute it. I'll take it on board. I think the top performing students are the ones who acknowledge that they're doing an exam, and all they need to do is be competent. The students who are chasing numbers around the answers at the back of the book to try and find where this number comes from, to try and find that number, to understand why that statement were made, they're the ones who are missing that bigger picture. And as we said earlier on, this exam is about showing value. It's about showing why you're a chartered accountant from all these different skill sets. There's no point chasing one number around the answer at the back of the book. Take that step back and go, okay, so I might need to value a business inside this scenario. I know I've got 3 or 4 techniques. Do I know the step by step on how to value a company using 3 of those 4 techniques? Yeah. All right. I'll be able to apply that inside the exam. And it's having that confidence to do your fundamentals right, which is what people do to get through this exam, not find that niche part, make sure I've got that niche part nailed, because you'll miss everything else.
Love that. And we've answered one of my questions earlier. So in fact, this is an audience question now. If we can do our final poll, this is on what we were asking you earlier, Stuart, regarding what should people be doing now. So if Kate, you could open that last poll just to see if any of our exam students are doing what Stuart has advised, that'd be great.
So, so are people currently practicing their exam questions? So I know that people had said that they hadn't sort of got their maybe cheat sheets ready, but are people practicing their exam questions?
Okay.
Let's have a little look. Sorry. So it looks like that a couple of people haven't yet, but occasionally got a couple of people occasionally doing their exams.
How
do you feel about that?
Yeah, how
so-
often do you think, Stuart, people should be doing it?
You know what? I think at this stage, occasionally is a great place to be. I mean, everybody's going to have a busy life with work, social lives, keeping your own sanity going. That if you're doing something occasionally at this early stage, it's a dream because it's going to slowly drip in and it's not going to overwhelm you. If you are one of those people who've hit the box that says not yet, maybe today could be the inspiration to be like, well, okay, let's go and see how it's examined. And I noticed that Shannon on the chat box there said they're still going through content. I'd really hope that if you are going through content, you try and work out how has that been examined in the past, like I said earlier on, because content alone could freak you out. But looking at the content and how it's been examined might actually ease the pressure and anxiety on yourself. I'm also aware that for these exams, one of the biggest barriers to get into practicing questions is just the size of them. I know as a tutor, I prep every single exam sitting. There's a new set of exams out and I prep through it and I have a look at what came up in the last exam sitting, where students could have done it. And even myself, it's like, let's go and have a look at this 60-mark question. That's great. You've got to work out how to just go into it in piecemeal and just be like, right, I'm going to have a look at this part of the question and I'm going to be proud of myself, the fact that I spent 15 minutes looking at that part of the question. I've reviewed the model answer. I've taken something away from the model answer, which I hadn't thought about, and I take a step away from that part of the question. I go and have a cup of coffee. I go and watch Hollyoaks or whatever else it might be that you watch, and you come back to it on another day to do another little snippet of the question instead. So I realize big questions are daunting, but you can do them piecemeal, bit at a time. And I reckon in the space of a week, you could do a 60-mark question piecemeal and feel really proud of yourself.
Really good advice. And on that note, I'm conscious of time. If you could give one piece of advice to someone sitting the advanced level, what would it be?
Hold your head up high and puff your chest out. Yeah, bravado goes a ridiculously long way. The more confidence you have in yourself to say, my point here is valid, and the more confident you are to put that point across, the more likely your markers are just going to go, yeah, fair point, and have credit for it. Whereas if you're too overcautious, you're not asking for the mark. So chest out, head up high, deliver the points you know, and you'll pick up those 50 marks.
Like going back to exactly what you said at the start, this is your time to show off what you've learnt, show off what you've known, be proud of yourself for having an opinion and for getting this far as a chartered accountant.
You're amazing people.
Yeah, this is 3 years in the making. You've learnt a lot, use it and do it with confidence. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm hoping that there will be many more of these webinars where we can help you through the exams. I want to say a huge thank you to Kate, our hostess with the mostest, for all the polls.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks.
And Stuart, thank you so much. I know I found this invaluable, but for those sitting exams, this must be a real eye-opener. So I hope everyone's had a wonderful time learning today. Thank you so much, Stuart.
Absolute
Thanks,
pleasure.
Stuart.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.
Thanks, Stuart. That was great. So informative.